Welcome to PseudoPod, the weekly horror podcast. The stories we present here are full-blooded, although on occasion, the protagonists are not by the time the show is over. Consider this your one warning.
PseudoPod, Episode 813, June 3rd, 2022. A Belly Full of Spiders by Mario Coelho. Hello! Welcome back to PseudoPod, the sound of horror. I'm your host this evening, the most cantankerous of tentacles and associate editor of PseudoPod, M.M. Schill. Tonight's author is Mario Coelho. Mario is some Portuguese writer and translator. He spends his time traveling around Europe in his unreliable Mitsubishi Charisma and ruminating about the eventual decay of everything he loves. You can find his short fiction at Strange Horizons, PseudoPod, and The New Southern Fugitives. His debut novella, Onto the Godless, What Little Remains, will be out by Solaris Books in 2022. Mario's offering to us tonight, A Belly Full of Spiders, is a PseudoPod original. Tonight's narrator is Bryce Daly. Bryce is a beginner voice actor who's recorded multiple stories for the Tales to Terrified podcast, along with a character voice in Monsters Out of the Closet, episode 33. When he's not working or hanging out with his wife, he uploads some of his own recordings to his YouTube channel, Awkward Mammal. And now, dear listeners, before we launch into A Belly Full of Spiders, some housekeeping. This story contains themes of eating disorder and some sexual content. And now, without further ado, we have a story for you. And we promise you, it's true.
A Belly Full of Spiders by Mario Coelho. Read by Bryce Daly. Alone in a dark basement, Davy's learned to do much without his eyes. He can hear the groaning of a house that never settles. He can taste different flavors of humidity, rust, cloth, mold, sweat. When he sniffs, he knows what Mom and Dad are cooking upstairs. Baked potatoes, drizzled in olive oil and peppered with garlic. Sirloin steak, charred on the outside, bloody within. Sirloin, sirloin, Lord Gone whispers in his mind, his voice like scratches. Sirloin, knight of the rotund table. You don't need a knight, Davy. You just follow what I say. Davy looks up at the ceiling he can't see. He misses the old dark, the one that preluded lucid dreaming. He doesn't dream anymore. Lord Gone doesn't let him. Davy just moves between a darkness that is still and a darkness that is stirring. What do you smell, Davy? Cheesecake, Davy says. Strawberry cheesecake. Mom made it. Cheesecake doesn't have a smell. Are you sure you're not dreaming? I'm not dreaming. Davy touches his face to make sure. His arm is like lead. Odd how the lighter you become, the heavier you feel. The chains rattle. Knotted wrists, skin calloused in places you wouldn't expect calluses to grow. He's opened a sore again. Smells the sick, sweet signs of infection. Are you hungry? Upstairs, wood screeching on wood. Dad just pulled his chair back to tell a joke. His guests laugh before the punchline. There's 3 of them. 2 are scared. One's a child. Not for spiders, Davy says. There's nothing else to eat. Spiders. That's all he has now. Spiders and Lord Gone. Davy can't really remember when Lord Gone first appeared. When it uncoiled itself from the corner like an empty scarecrow bloating to life. Davy's never really seen it either, just a hunchbacked shape and hints of many eyes. But Lord Gon's company. Lord Gon's a friend. And Lord Gon lies sometimes. But it's for Davy's good. It is lying now, when it says there's nothing else to eat. Mom and Dad bring Davy food on occasion, but Lord Gon says he shouldn't eat anything but spiders. Lord Gon stands in front of him. Davy doesn't see it as much as he knows. He feels its breath like air that's gone stale. Open your mouth. How do you catch them? I don't. They come as a favor. What do you do for them? Fed them. It pauses. Listened as they talked, too. The world is different now. People keep trying to extinguish the dark. Light bulbs, lamps, lampposts, headlights. Spiders don't like the light. They're running out of homes. And they just let themselves die? So I don't starve? Lord Gon pauses again. Davy knows it well enough by now. He knows it is pitying him, and his empty stomach goes cold with a bit of anger, a bit of shame. So you starve just enough. Okay. Davy opens his mouth. The first spider is big, fat, squirming. Her legs flail in either excitement or regret, prickling the inside of Davy's lips, tugging at his gums. Davy says sorry in his mind and bites down. Bitter, crunchy, more gooey than usual. A tinge of iron in this one. He chews slowly. After all, he has all the time in the world. He doesn't even keep track anymore. He can't. How do you make a clock out of the dark? How do you count the different shades of nothing? And one now to stay with you, Lord Gon says. Davy sucks on his teeth and licks his lips thoroughly. It's only polite to clean up the pieces before the second spider goes in. He imagines they don't want to see the remains of their friends. Open wide. The spider goes down in a glob of saliva. She's smaller, but smaller ones are okay too. Davy hopes she's comfy, there in the graveyard of his stomach, with all her brothers and sisters. He envies her in a way. Davy hasn't had brothers or sisters in a while. Used to be they were frequent, when his parents were younger, a succession of them coming down, blindfolded and crying, different faces looking the same in the dark, different voices circling back to the same words. After the first few days they'd open up, they'd talk about things that were normal to them. Going out to eat a burger, being tucked in bed, being read to, being out in the yard, kicking balls, petting dogs, not talking to strangers, missing someone. Eventually they'd ask questions too, but Davy had been there for so long he stopped having answers for anything. How old was he? He didn't know. He wasn't even sure he still knew how to count. Where were his parents? Upstairs, of course. What a dumb question. Who was he talking to? They could never stand Mom and Dad for long. It always ended the same way. Same sounds with different timbers. Crying, screaming, thumping, silence. Hauled upstairs limp. Skin like dry mops on concrete. I hope the spider's okay, Davy says. The air moves. Lord Gon has a hesitant hand on Davy's shoulder. She is, it says. They all are. I can hear them purring. There's no more laughter upstairs. There's just Mom and Dad doing their 1-2 knockout, as Davy once heard them call it. Dad barking away and slapping the table, Mom highlighting the pauses in his bullying with derisive comments. The guests' voices echo with the flat timidity of saying sorry. The kid is crying, hands pulling fabric, tugging on his dad's pants. Your wrists are infected. Don't let them swell, Lord Gon says. It stinks. Like cheese. Maybe that's the cheesecake you're smelling. You said cheesecake doesn't smell like anything, Davy says. But I don't have a nose. When's the last time you had it? Davy isn't even sure he's ever had it. Mom brought him cake once or twice. Davy liked it. Everything tastes good when you're starving. But afterwards he always doubled over as much as the chains let him, puking or shitting himself. Dad would then berate Mom, saying it takes a lot of conditioning to eat sugar like that. Poor creature never eats any woman, you can't just give him your shit fucking cake. And Mom would berate back, and then either one or both, depending on who lost, would punish Davy, each in their own way. Davy, Lord Gon says, shudders. Its shape grows closer and bigger. Like Davy's a spider, and it's his turn to be swallowed down. The air feels thicker on Davy's back. Means Lord Gon has its arms around him. Davy, things can change, even in the dark. A sting in Davy's eyes. Something asleep that Lord Gon's trying to wake up. Davy told it to stop many times before, but Lord Gon said Davy had to get used to his eyes stinging. That light stings harder than hope. It does, Lord Gon says, but you're not alone. You have spiders inside you. They know how the light can hurt. The guests are leaving, Davy says. Mom and Dad will be here soon. Lord Gon's shape fizzles, its version of shuddering and irritation. If they give you anything, don't eat it. Light or no light, Davy's eyes sting harder. I'm really hungry, he says. Is he choking up? Is he dreaming it? I know, Davy, but you agreed. Chew one spider, swallow the other. No more, no less. Rattling. Chains. You don't know if it'll work. He almost meant, I don't know if I want it to work. Things work sometimes. But what if it doesn't? Then you'll still be here, same as you are now. Davy nods, head heavy, filled with buzzing. Mom and Dad's footsteps echo louder, hollow. Dad's voice floats over, muffled.
Fucking junkies. Can't count on them for anything, not even to be junkies.
Mom's voice is decades younger than her. A spoiled brat, Dad still calls her. They'll come around, she says. It's happened before. First visits for their conscience.
Seconds for their fix.
Dad completes, impatient.
Yes, but what if they tell?
Mom's laughter. Broken crystal. It's clearer. They're getting closer. They've got no one to tell.
Crackheads don't need an audience. They'll talk to the clouds on a clear day. Wrong person walks by, someone with enough suburban boredom pent up, and we get a bad visit from some good person.
She stops walking. Dad stops too. Davy hears him shift in irritation. He hates stopping. Could be, she says. But did you see the kid?
Yes, Dad grumbles. Skinny bundle of trauma. Junkie spawn. Won't last a week.
Davy lasted.
Lasting's all he fucking does. Dad spits. Dave's old. His hair is more gray than black, and he's dying. Doesn't eat anymore.
A slap. Davy tries to imagine Mom's hand printed in red on Dad's face. But he can't picture red anymore. And he can't picture hands either. Davy's our son, she seethes, as much as any of the others. And he's not old. That's not why his hair is gray. A pause. Not a good one. Like Lord Gon's. A heavy one. Davy makes a popping sound with his lips, in time with Dad hurting Mom. He mimics her scream in silence, tilts his head like hers is hitting the wall. Clang! Another slap, this time from her. Pause, lips smacking, clothes sliding off. Pause, whispers, grunts and moans, a smell both acrid and sweet. Keys rattling, the door opens. Davy closes his eyes hard. To him, the dark outside the door is almost like night. He's not ready yet. He doesn't want Lord Gon to go. "I'll be with the spiders," Lord Gon says. "You won't see me, but I'll be here." Then Lord Gon's gone, and Mom and Dad come down, still smelling of each other. Davy remembers what red is like again when Dad shines something on him. He sees it through his eyelids in striated lines of pain.
"Trying to starve yourself," Dad says. "Won't work, Davy. We've seen that before. You'll eat in the end. You know how long it takes to starve someone."
Davy hears the tendon in Dad's thumb crackle. He's pointing it at something.
"Your jug's not empty, so you've been drinking the water. You haven't spilled it. That's how you do it, if you'd really want to do it."
A scoff. He's shaking his head.
"Sammy stopped drinking. So did Jenny. This you're doing? This just a tantrum."
Davy whimpers, turns his face away from the shine. A very slight pop. Mom's lips opening. She always leaves them like that for a tiny while before she says something motherly. "You have to grow up someday, Davy." Her fingers worm into his hair. She massages his scalp, hushes the lullaby Davy sometimes hears playing upstairs in her music box. Then her fingers slow down, stop, pull away, a shudder of disgust. Tears grinding like gears. "Why must you be filthy? Why can't you be like her?" she says. When they're done with him, when Mom's hugging him and wiping her tears on the grime on his neck, Dad mercifully turns off the flashlight. He places it on the floor and then squats down, puts his hand on Davy's shoulders and says fatherly things. Behind them, Lord Gon stands up.
"Davy, it's time."
In the dark, Mom and Dad pull back.
"What was that?"
Dad says. Davy opens his mouth. The first spider leaps out, lands on Mom's hair. She jumps, touches her hair. Davy's hands slip out of the chain, skeletal, hard with sores, slick with pus. He uses them to stretch his jaws wide open. He feels the spiders crawling up his throat, amassing on his tongue, jumping over his teeth. Mom screams, shakes and slaps her head.
"What the—"
Dad starts and goes for the flashlight, but Davy snatches it and stumbles to get away, skidding on sweat and piss, muttering sorry every time he squishes a spider. Dad stalks after him, stomping in the dark. Davy stops breathing. He stays very still, hoping Dad won't see him, looking for Lord Gon. Dad catches his wrist, fat fingers like forceps on bird bones.
"You think you're—"
Davy opens his mouth as wide as it goes, jaws crackling, and a stream of spiders pours out, lunging like fleas. The flashlight in Davy's hand comes alive. The white light sears his eyes. He drops the flashlight, barely sees it roll away to Dad's feet. Barely sees Dad contorting in place, slapping about his body, skin writhing with spiders. He's on all fours, hears himself hack out more spiders and apologize to them, while Mom screams and chokes and Dad heaves and snarls, little spider legs between his teeth, and he makes a veiny fist, and Davy's body hits the floor like water. Dad stands over him, places a foot on his neck, pushes down hard.
Dog!
Dad says and spits on him.
You're not a Sophie, you're just a fucking dog!
Dad shines the flashlight on Davy's face. Davy turns away, whimpering. Dad leans in to put more weight on his neck. In blurry detail, Davy notices a blade of grass on Dad's shoe, a small piece of outside, a small mercy, as the burning white starts giving way to soothing black. The pressure stops. Davy gasps for air.
What was that?
Dad says, startled. He scans the basement with the flashlight. He wipes dead spiders from his face, leaves a dark smudge of hair and legs.
Did you see that?
He asks Mom. She doesn't answer, just gags and coughs. The light wavers. Dad shakes the flashlight like a bottle, muttering in frustration. The glass is cracked. The light blinks, flails. And then Lord Gone is behind Dad, a slice of stretched up dark. It reaches over with a hand like bleeding ink. It looks at Davy. Go, it says, and with a single finger it touches the flashlight and snuffs out the light. Mom thrashes on the ground, gagging on spiders. Dad is breathing hard. Davy hears his vertebrae crack. Means he's looking over his shoulder, trying to see where Davy is. And Davy is closer than Dad knows. Close to the rattling of the keys, trembling, silent fingers slipping into his pocket. Then he's out, running, stumbling, and Dad comes after him. Mom starts screaming again, angry this time. But Davy knows where everything is. He doesn't need to see the chair with the two front legs bent, leaning over the deflated camping tent, the toolbox filled with nails, the bags of children's clothing, a half-burned cradle, a bundle of rolled-up cables, old VCR tapes with dates and names of people in cursive. Davy doesn't trip. He just walks up the stairs to the door, hearing Dad trip on the toolbox, stick himself up with nails. Davy opens the door and gets out. He stops. His hand trembles on the handle. "Lord Gone?" he says, softly. His mom and Dad go quiet. He hears their heads turn. Lord Gone stands in front of him in beautiful, solid darkness. "Don't leave me," Davy says. Spiders run between his feet and out the door. "Don't leave us."
Lock the door, Davy. Don't open it, whatever you hear. I'll be with you soon.
A pause. One of its silence-like promises.
I'm just gonna have a talk with your parents.
Davy steps away, climbs up the stairs. Many flights of stairs. Blinking as he goes. He touches the wet walls with the tips of his fingers. First floor up, he sees a bathtub half filled with tepid water, bathed in the weak twilight of a light bulb. Painful, but bearable. Canned food lines up the walls. Salmon, tuna, beans. A lot of beans. Second floor up, LEDs buzzing to each other. There's a tank with water and chemicals on the counter. Photographs hang from a clothesline. Children's faces, hollow-cheeked and hollow-eyed. Davy remembers some of them. Third floor up, the door is closed. Painful yellow shimmering beneath like fire. Davy breathes in for courage. There are many smells here. Grass outside, lukewarm food in the kitchen, mopped floors, and dusted carpets and air fresheners. He opens it to a hallway, boiling with light. He stumbles, knocks over a music box, calls out for Lord Gone. But he's alone now. alone with the light. He's emptied of spiders. He staggers around, drawing the curtains and closing the shutters. There are only 2 floors above the ground. The house is deeper than it is tall. When it is dark enough, he goes to the kitchen. He ignores the steak on the table. He'd never eat living things without their permission. He unplugs the fridge to turn off its light and opens it, takes out the milk and combs the cupboards for cereal, finds a box with a little brown rabbit. He remembers liking those, long back in his anonymous past. Mom and Dad's voices and faces were different then. They were kind people in a different house. As he eats, he feels a vibration beneath his feet. Mom and Dad are crying far below in the basement. He pukes the cereal in the sink and goes up to Mom and Dad's room and slides under the bed where it's darker. Somewhere, a spider is skittering. Davy says hello to her. He says thank you. When he wakes up, it's night outside. He eats, doesn't puke as much, and walks about looking for spiders to thank, hearing Mom and Dad's muffled pleading. Someone is ringing the doorbell. Davy doesn't open the door, and the day ends, and he sleeps. And he wakes up, eats, doesn't puke this time, and walks about, followed by spiders, and opens his mouth to them, but none come in. It's all right. They don't have to anymore. Mom and Dad are louder, and Davy eats a second time this time. The doorbell rings again and again. Someone throws a rock at the window, and Davy sleeps. And it goes on like that. And in the meanwhile, Davy finds books, and very slowly, he learns to read as he did once, and uses the page numbers to relearn how to count. It's the 10th day now. Mom and Dad can barely be heard anymore. He misses Lord Gone. So much it's like he still has spiders inside him, biting him from within. It's the dark of dawn. Davy is about to go sleep when he hears a crash. Hinges bursting out of wood. He goes see what it is, and finds a man and a woman in the entrance hall. Mom? Dad? No, they're much thinner and younger. The man has a baseball bat in his hands. The woman is gripping his arm. The man raises the bat, then wavers and says, "Jesus." The woman covers her mouth. "Oh my God." Davy knows their voices, the guests from the other day. Who are you?" The man says. "I'm Davy." They pale. "Davy?" The woman says. She grabs the man's forearm and starts crying. "Just down the road? Oh my God!" Where are your parents?" the man asks Davy. "In the basement, talking to Lord Gone." "Talking to—" The man clears his throat and turns to the woman. "Wait here. I'll go see if there are others." He disappears inside the house. "Come with me, honey," the woman says. She touches Davy's hand. They both flinch. "There's too much light outside," Davy says. "It's night," the woman says. "You'll be okay. There are stars." The woman grabs his hand. Doesn't flinch this time, but Davy does. And she pulls him out the door to a sky dotted in light. Lampposts bathe the street in fire. There's pain, boiling wounds everywhere. Where do dark things live in all this light? Where do spiders sleep? The woman sits on the porch and has Davy sit too, and she starts asking questions. The same old questions, but Davy doesn't know how old he is, doesn't know who those people she's talking about are supposed to be. And she starts crying again anyway, and tells Davy to stay where he is and starts going from house to house, ringing doorbells. Davy looks around at the spots where shadows take over light, but he doesn't see Lord Gone. It's been a long talk, he thinks. Mom and Dad must be so bored by now. The woman returns, followed by people. So many people, lining the street in their pajamas, covering their mouths, calling other people on their phones. Some are crying. The man called Carlos comes back. says something to his wife, shakes his head. Davy hears something about thirst and infection. He hears something about how that could have been our son, and it isn't, we didn't do it, and we're clean now. And then more lights flood into the street, flashing blue, making noise, and people with guns pull Davy aside and others run inside the house. Sometime later, a woman with dark circles under her eyes and bedroom hair starts asking questions, and two very old people push her aside and hug him and cry so hard Davy is afraid they're hurting themselves. They take him away to a hospital, and a night goes by, then a police station, and a day goes by, then to a house with the old couple, and days go by, but Davy doesn't want to answer their questions. They let him go out to the yard, with the dog and the blue sky he's learning to bear. Day by day, hunger a ghost, darkness a longing. His eyes almost don't sting anymore. He has to put eye drops on them and wear a patch sometimes. He has a room with a bed, and he sleeps under it, and he doesn't puke now. And Lord Gone doesn't come when he calls, nor do the spiders. Dark as things may be, how many times he may unscrew the light bulbs or hang blankets over the curtains, Lord Gone doesn't come. Not even when Davy goes down to the basement of this new house, which isn't as deep and isn't as dark, or when he slips out during the night and looks for other, darker basements, in crumbling houses with fungi stains on the wall. The old couple have stopped asking questions. Now they just tell things, describe him dreams he's had before. He dreams of them again in new colors, when he's alone with no Lord Gone and no spiders, in a room of his own that's been kept the same way, waiting for him, or so he's been told. Word by word, he starts asking questions of his own, and he learns why phones don't have buttons anymore, why everyone is always staring at them, staring straight at the light, never truly alone. And vans come and go and pour out screaming people with screaming microphones. The dog barks back and the old couple sit on the porch, taking turns crying and touching each other's faces. But these things change too. Eventually the old couple don't cry as much, and Davy stops flinching when they touch his hair. And they stop whispering that it's so gray as theirs. And then one day, he's down in that new basement, standing in pitch-black comfort, and Davy, a shape in the corner, arms unrolling like paper, warm air flowing, pulling him into a hug. "I thought you'd left me," Davy says. "I'll never leave you, Davy." A pause. "But we won't see each other as often." "Why?" "There are other basements, Davy. Other children." "But you'll come visit?" "I will." "And the spiders?" "I'll find them a home, too."
I hope tonight's offering did well to remind you, dear listeners, that not every child is afraid of the dark. Some are reared by it. And it is my hope that each and every one of those children grow up, remembering who raised them, and then submits to PseudoPod. And as always, if you have enjoyed yourself here tonight, please consider supporting us. Visit pseudopod.org and click on Feed the Pod, or visit our Patreon. Just a $5 pledge will grant you access to tons of bonus material. And if you were always wondering how you can bring a bit of pod everywhere you go, you can find our merch at voidmerch.threadless.com and hit the collection tab. Otherwise, please like and share our program on the social media of your choosing. It's a big help, and we thank you. PseudoPod is part of Escape Artists Incorporated and is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Theme music is by permission of Anders Manga. Thank you and good night, dear listeners. And remember, Seeing a spider is of no consequence. It's seeing then losing track of one that's really the problem.
It's a pseudopod. It's a big foot.
It's all about podcasts these days.